right, let's go ahead and get started. We'll go ahead and call the City of Centerton Planning Commission for January 5th, 2021 to order with a roll call.
Ben Lewis,
Here.
John Sessoms,
Present.
Jerry Harris,
Here.
Tony Davis,
Here.
Amber Beal,
Here.
Craig Langford,
Here.
Devin Murphy,
You bet.
Joey Engel,
Here.
Jeff Seifarth.
And Jeff's here as well. Thank you all for joining tonight. Happy New Year for 2021. Just as we get started here, just a few reminders for the commission. Remember to have your name or state your name, and then if you're placing in something on the agenda or you're making a motion, feel free to give your name and then the motion. If you are joining us virtually, we'll go over this several times, but if you're virtual, there is a raise the hand option that you'll see. Feel free to do that, and then we can recognize you. If you joined via the phone, there's a *9 or a *9 that will allow you to join the meeting as well. So, and we'll cover off on those as we go throughout the meeting. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. The first item on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from our planning meeting of 12/15/2020.
There's no comments. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
It's John. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Is anyone opposed? All right, thank you guys. Under old business, the first thing under old business this evening is the subdivision 20-16, the Diamond Estates Phase 4. This is the adjacent street improvement agreement for Wolverine Drive. Just as a reminder, it's R2, just over 15 acres, and it is 56 lots. And it looks like this one is for Donna.
Yep, this one is mine. So essentially what happened with this one is that at the last planning commission meeting for Diamond Estates, we hadn't quite worked out the adjacent street agreement. So we're now worked out, and we're bringing it back before you all to get approval specifically on this, since we didn't get it at the last meeting. So if we could go to the next page. So Wolverine Drive is a major collector on the master street plan. Per the new master street plan, it is a 3-lane major collector. The right-of-way is 80 feet on our typical major collector plan. This right-of-way is 2 foot of green space, 10-foot trail, 9-foot green space, 38 foot of paving, 9-foot green space, 10-foot trail, and 2-foot green space, as shown on the typical section there. Wolverine is a little bit different than a typical major collector. Per previous agreements, adjacent subdivisions are being allowed to connect more frequently, more like a local street. Right-of-way widths vary, and I've got an exhibit which will be next, which is here. So we've gotten right-of-way width dedications as various subdivisions are being given. What is being dedicated now is Diamond Estates Phase 4 and 5. There is existing 30 feet of right-of-way. There is an additional 5 being dedicated with this current plat. But this diagram is meant to show kind of what we currently have along Wolverine and what is being proposed. Also, what the street sections are. But the adjacent street agreement that we have is a 35-foot right-of-way dedication. So it will increase it to 35 foot. will including 5-foot sidewalk, 5-foot green space, 2-foot curb and gutter, 23 foot of paving, and then a 2-foot transition on the east side of the center line property line to the other side of the street. Adjacent to this, we do have 30 foot of right of way, which has been granted by the Bentonville School District per a lot and tract combination split, which was recorded in 2016 for a total right of way of 65 foot in this area. And that is what we have at this time.
Any questions from any of the commissioners or any thoughts? If there are no questions or any thoughts, then I would entertain a motion for the adjacent street improvement agreement for Wolverine Drive as presented.
This is John. I motion to approve the subdivision 20-16 Diamond Estates adjacent street agreement as presented.
This is Amber, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, thank you guys. All right, now we're going to move on to new business, and we do have 3 public hearings this evening. The first public hearing this evening is for rezone 20-24. This is the FSSCL LLC Group, 13854 West Highway 102, and it is Ag 1 A1 to C2 and R3 single family, and it's just over 60 acres. And so with that, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
This is Amber. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for rezone 20-24 FSSCL LLC.
Joey,
Tony, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and we have a couple of seconds. Is anyone opposed? All right, is the applicant or the developer here just to give us a brief overview?
Yes, he is. It is Nick, and I'm sorry, I will butcher your last name, so I'm not going to try. You should be able to unmute yourself now, Nick, I do believe. There you go.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hey Nick, just give us a brief overview of what you guys are looking to do here.
Well, we have 60 acres there, and we're asking for commercial zoning there of approximately 10 acres of that borders Highway 102. And for the remaining 50 acres to the north side of the commercial frontage to be residential lots of approximately, I believe it works out to be about three homes per acre there.
All right. Diane, do you want to go ahead and just give us a staff overview and then we'll open it up to the public?
Yes, I sure can. This parcel is in the city limits. It's surrounded by, as you can see, Benton County, but this little parcel is within the city limits of Centerton, and they are asking for R3 single family on the north side, and they're on the south side. They're asking for C2 zoning. And as you can see, there is C2 already existing there to the southeast. And the high density residential, those are going to be the lots that are 6,000 minimum square feet. Lot area, the minimum lot width is 60 feet. And then your typical setbacks of 25 front and side street setbacks, 20-foot rear, 7-foot side. Highway commercial is intended for businesses that cater to highway traffic, such as service stations, drive-in restaurants, motels, supermarkets, and similar businesses. This area is serviced, of course, by Highway 102. This is outside of the area that the highway department is looking to widen in the near future. So this will still remain, as is until sometime in the future. It is, of course, a major arterial with 100-foot right-of-way, which if the highway department does widen it, that should be sufficient. And Kitty Road, which goes along the east side and up to the north and the east, is kind of the funny little jog road there. It's designated as just a local street on the master street plan with minimum 50-foot right-of-way. And it does connect up to Noah Road there on the north side. I already explained the surrounding zoning is pretty much all Benton County, with a little bit of the A1 to the southeast and way down to the southwest, and C2 there adjacent in the southeast corner. So as of the zoning, the R3 single family and the C2 would be compatible with what's currently there. The R3, considering it's in the county and pretty, rural in nature, that would be, a lot different than what's there currently. But it wouldn't be considered incompatible. It is compatible. Now, as far as the land use, Nicole, did you want to show the land use first, or can we do their concept? Well, we're on the land use, so we'll do the land use now. As you can see with the land use, this area is business park. It just to the north of it is the medium high density residential, and the south part, which they're wanting to do commercial, is also business park. And the business park and the land use plan is intended to provide for professional employment and office uses, which could include standalone office buildings and complexes, distribution and warehousing, all kinds of different things. From a planning standpoint, it's not necessarily considered consistent with that. But again, it depends on what kind of structures and what kind of things, will go in there. But they are looking for the typical commercial zoning for the area. Please let me know if I left. There we go. And as you can see, all there along the front are the commercial lots in there. How deep are those, Nick? 100 or 200?
Well,
I can't see that. I can't see it that far away.
What's that?
184.
184 feet deep,
Okay.
and the lots are around 1.25 to 1/3 acres, which makes them compatible for the use requirement that the city would like to have seen.
Yes, sir. And like I said, we are, of course, just looking at use and not the concept, but I thought, Nicole thought, it'd be a good idea to kind of show what the commercial
Yes.
aspect especially looked like.
In our conceptual there, you can see on Kitty Road, it's kind of highlighted there. I've kind of met with the officials there, with the sewer department, the street department, planning division. But Kitty Road, we're going to pave Kitty Road up to the north end of our property. And with talking to the street department, they'd like to have gotten rid of one of the cul-de-sacs that you see. That yellow highlighter came around with one ingress and egress coming out on Kitty Road, which will be improved and paved.
And I think I have a correction for Kitty Road. The north-south portion of Kitty Road, I believe, is a major collector on our master street plan. It's where it bends to the west that it turns into a local. I'm trying to confirm that right now, but that's what it looks like on our current master street plan.
Well, if I missed that, I apologize. I apparently did not see that when I looked at the map.
Yeah, so the east portion of this will, this part of Kitty Road is actually being shown as a major collector, which is 80 feet of right of way. So it'd be a 40-foot half.
Is there a road lineup in the south somewhere? I'm trying to picture back to where maybe around lots 105 to 108 or something like that would go up into, or not?
Yeah, we've discussed that, and that's, of course, this is just a conceptual. If the rezoning goes through, we'll modify the changes that the city'd like to see on making some connectivity there to the north.
Okay. And then actually, Nicole, I think you're driving, Nicole. Can you back out just a little bit for me? I'm trying to picture where we have sort of the current business park, I'll call it, where Amp Electric and some of those are. How close to this is that? Is it like a half mile, maybe a mile down there?
About a mile.
Okay. And then there's no other development between there. Is that correct? There are just a few houses right at 279.
Not currently, and most of it is still in the county in that area also.
Okay.
So there might be some commercial type things along there, but it is in the county.
Okay. Thank you. All right. At this point, we'll go ahead and open it up to the public. If there's anyone from the public that wishes to speak or have any questions in regards to the rezone that we're considering, feel free to raise your hand. Again, if you joined virtually, or if you joined via phone, you can do *9 or *9, and then we can allow you to speak. If you do wish to speak, what we ask is that you give us your name and your address, and then we'll recognize you to speak.
We do have one gentleman or female, I'm not sure, that would like to speak. It is Tomac. Again, I'm not going to butcher the last name, but Tomac, I will ask you to unmute yourself.
Hey, good evening. Thank you, ma'am. My name is Tomek Shivets. I'm the owner of property across 13675 West Highway 102. Just kind of sit in on this. I was informed about the development. And let me just say that as a neighbor, you know, I'm excited about the activity on the west side. You know, it's good to see something happening on the west side. And I really welcome this project. So no objections or no concerns on my side. I'm glad the Nick showed the proposed conceptual plan on it. My main concern was the highway traffic. You know, as you know, it's a pretty high traffic, high volume highway, and the speed limit I believe is 55. And I'm sure it will be Nick's best interest and probably y'all's interest to protect the citizens of the city on the west side of town. Maybe talk about the reduction of the speed limit on that end. As you know, cars and trucks, you know, just fly by over there. And if it was me, if it was my residence over there, I'd want to, address the future, consideration of maybe lowering the speed limit. My second question was about sewer, and maybe I'm not sure if there's a sewer on that side of town. On that side of highway, and maybe the developer could address the plans for the sewer connection over there.
All right, thank you, Tomac. In regards to the traffic, I'll call it, and the speed limit and whatnot, our director for streets is on the phone, and I'm sure he'll take a note to at least ask. And that's not anything that we necessarily control. It all goes back to the state highway department, in order to potentially take a look at that. But Rick is on the call, and I'm sure he'll take a note that it was at least discussed this evening. But unfortunately, it's not anything that we can control. Certainly noted. I don't know about sewer, and I don't know that I saw Frank on here. Do you guys know if there's sewer that's out in that area or how they're going to connect?
Am I still on the line? This is Nick.
Yeah.
There'd be a lift station there in the southeast corner of that project. It shows on the conceptual plat for an area for a lift station, and then we'll be taking a force main up to, I believe, Frank has us taking it up to Keller Road. So in essence, we'd be bringing sewer to that area in the form of our lift station, being able to then take that affluent east up Highway 102 to Keller Road and then north on Keller Road.
Okay, thanks, Nick. All right, thank you, Tomac.
Great, thank you, Councilman.
Anyone else from the public that wishes to speak?
I do not see any other hands raised.
Okay, so we'll do a third and final call for anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this rezone.
Again, I do not see any hands raised.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Diane. So with that, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
This is Jerry. I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Joey, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right. Any questions or comments or thoughts from any of the commissioners before we go through the 5 areas that we need to consider?
I think the only real challenge with this one is the C2 versus the business park that the master land use plan shows. But I'm sure we'll get into that. But does anybody have any thoughts on that?
And I was kind of on the fence as well. I think just thinking through, what's going on in today around, what we'll call, a business park, which kind of takes a little bit more office versus, commercial. The chances of, more and more offices popping up is becoming less and less of a reality. It's just the way that I'm thinking about it, as I reviewed everything. I think the commercial, as that area develops, is probably a little more relevant as I think through it. As I was thinking about it and talking out loud. At least that's where, my head was at as I was going through it.
That's what I was thinking as well, Jeff. This is John. It looks like the proposal just moves that land use map, the medium high density, it just moves it down. Doesn't really look like it's that much of a change other than just reducing the business park area. I mean, you still have your business park planning there. It's just not quite as big. You're just moving that high density down, or medium high density down.
Yep. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and go through what we need to consider. And I'm certainly, thinking, Joey, that it'll probably prompt a few more questions as well. So the first thing that we need to consider is the rezoning consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, including the adopted land use plan? If not, why? And so again, just a few things that we discussed, went through. I think, John makes a good point. It kind of moves it down a little bit. So we end up losing, about 30 acres or so, if I did my math right, 40 acres or so from a business park, perspective, if we want to call it that. But then we still, we get the commercial aspect of it, up front there, which again, from a residential perspective, potentially serves them a little bit. So again, we don't have to answer yes to all 5 of these in order for us to, vote yes, or even vote, no, depending on what we decide here. But, these are, certainly, things that are open for discussion. So does anybody have anything else in regards to the consistency as far as the comprehensive plan?
I'll just say on face value, I don't think it meets the comprehensive plan. But talking through it, I don't know that it's a bad change as well, based on, Jeff, kind of some of the points you brought up.
Okay.
I'm okay with the concept.
as far as getting the commercial out of the area, I think, like you said, the high density it does make sense. I mean, where it relates, it is just moved kind of further down. And it does have an adjacent or connecting C2 zoning that actually connects it in the southeast corner. So I think it's compatible in that aspect.
Okay, we're going to get compatible here in just a second. So no jumping ahead, Tony. So is it consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, including the land use plan? If not, why? And again, I think we can say that it's not necessarily consistent, if you will, but again, it gives us the opportunity to talk through. And that's really what we've talked through, in my opinion, as far as the not, if you will, and then the reasons why. So again, just reminding everybody, we don't have to say yes on all these, as we take our vote. So Todd, I'm going to lead towards, just because we have the plan and we adopted the land use, we're going to say no on this one, but I think we have some very valid reasons, in discussion as far as, why not? But again, the opportunity as we talk out loud, to potentially, as we consider this. So that's number one. The second one is the proposed rezoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones. And so I'm aligned with, what Tony had just said there. I mean, I do think that it's compatible, with the surrounding zones, especially with the, commercial up front, residential in the back, and of course the adjacent property. So I'm okay with this one. Does anybody disagree or have anything, they'd like to say in regards to this one? So Todd, we're going to be yes on that one. The next one to consider, would all the permitted uses in this new zone be compatible in this location and surrounding areas? And again, I'm kind of a yes on this one, as far as, the residential in the back. And, I think we've talked, for many, many years about the commercial being very important, up front, on the highway. So I think we're okay on this one as well. Does anybody have any thoughts or any challenges in regards to this one? Okay. So Todd, we're yes on that one. The next one, would the rezoning provide a benefit to one landowner but not be considered for other similar properties in the area? And again, I don't think there's necessarily one, benefit, based on, the other things that we would consider in the area. Does anybody have anything or disagree in regards to that one? Todd, I think we're okay on that one. And in regards to if the public is opposed, why are the objections based upon factual information relating directly to this request, or opinion-based? Does any factual information presented apply to this rezoning situation? And again, Tomac did, share traffic. We hear, traffic a lot. And certainly a suggestion as far as the speed limit. Again, nothing that we can necessarily, control. Certainly suggest, if you will. So again, that was the only information that we heard from the public. Anybody have any thoughts or comments on any of those? All right, so Todd, I think we're okay on that one as well. Nicole, if you are nimble, can you pull up a reminder? I know we have a larger description at the top here for the business park piece of it, but if we were to pull up the C2, is there an opportunity there to have any of these particular, things, would they be allowed?
Talking about the scheduled uses?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, let me grab that for you real quick. And while I'm pulling that up, I also wanted to mention, and let me move to concept plan again one more time. The conversation we were having about the commercial lots was just regarding the depth of the commercial lots, and we wanted to compare and make sure that it was basically a functional commercial lot. These lots are essentially similar to the depth of the lots in front of Copper Oaks. The shallower ones where Tooth Squad and Waffle House and Jake's are. I think they're just slightly more depth to them, but they're pretty similar. Just to give you a sense, those lots have been pretty tight to develop. And I don't know if they have a little bit of extra wiggle room in their lots with this concept. I think that they're being shown at about 200 feet. I didn't get a chance to look at the legal description for the rezone, but I would like to assume that the rezone's about 200 feet too. And Diane, maybe you can confirm that while we're discussing this, but just wanted to bring that up as a consideration for you all, because that is important to look at how these lots will function along a highway as well in terms of depth.
That was on my questions to ask as well. Nick, if you're still on, can you confirm how deep those are? I'm trying to view here, but I know Nicole's looking for what I asked her. Are they about 200?
Let me grab the plan here right quick. What's this depth here?
184.58.
184.58 in depth.
But they kind of go back and forth. Like this one's 199. This one's 200.
They're, as we're going east, they're just a little bit 199, 200 on lot 7. And our average width is
And it kind of goes back a little bit on lot 6 to 186. But then on lot 5, it goes back up to,
for instance, lot 7 and lot 6 are 304 feet in width. The ones, so the narrowest one would be, what is this number? 279 feet on lot 8. And we are, we're agreeable to make those lots wider if we need to. If we need to go from 9 lots to 7, we could make them wider. We could make them compatible for whatever is agreeable with the Planning Commission. If they see some need there to make those lots a little wider, we're compatible there. We might be able to take a few feet off of the depth of the lots in order to make the commercial lots a little deeper if we need to do that.
So
I think we got just a little bit of square footage. We could maybe take a couple of feet off of each one of the lots and make the commercial lots a little deeper as well.
So just talking out loud, from a 80-foot right of way, may not be quite enough to plan. And I don't know if Rick's on to give thoughts on that.
Yes, I am. One plus to these that we don't experience along Highway 102 and 2 Squad and all is that we don't have the drainage swell along the back of these and landscaping and everything else to separate that drainage swell from the other property. This would be a lot easier build than what we've experienced along 2 Squad and everything else.
Okay. How about the 80-foot right of way? That's not enough though, is it, for out there if they eventually want to expand that?
No, the master street plan does have a 100-foot right of way for Highway 102.
So
That's
essentially we'd lose 10 feet off of all those lots depth wise, right?
That is correct.
That's correct.
So that's
The
one
other-
thing, Nick.
Yes.
The other thing, just talking out loud, that we've had many discussions on that we would like to see in regards to some of these commercial lots. We would want to see kind of a shared access, if you will. So what we don't want is 9 different, exits and entrances off of the
Correct.
road. So
Yes.
you're also going to lose potentially a little bit. Just think about, from a building perspective. So those are 2 things, to consider as we think about the the depth of those. So, but Rick does bring up a good point. There is a little bit more wiggle room in the back, maybe. The only, that, and then we do get the street separation that helps, from the commercial to the residential. Again, I understand it's a concept, but just again, talking out loud.
Sure. Okay. So I think with these lots, the way we design these, we've probably captured about 25 or 30 more feet than the other commercial lots that we were talking about. Due to the design of the lots and the drainage is, we're not dealing with a drainage problem here either. So we've got, we're able to utilize these lots fully. And the connectivity of the lots, as we go through that, as we move from the conceptual on into the design, we'll work with everybody involved to make the connectivity correct. And so we put a lot of work into this plan. We talked to everybody and tried to make sure we designed it correctly to start with, so we don't have we're not asking for something that trying to remake the wheel here. So but we're very open to whatever suggestions that we need to make here as far as connectivity on the parking lots, and we look forward to that input. So that we've got a nice project here for the community and the folks that live there, and we want this to be nice and everything to work well.
Yeah, and we're probably getting a little too much in the weeds. Just we're not going to solve all the world's problems tonight. I do want to keep us going, but just a few notes as we're thinking about it. And again,
Sure.
trying to buy
Absolutely.
a little time while Nicole's bringing up the schedule of uses for me.
Okay.
I'd like to confirm, Nick, that initially 5 or 6 months ago, when he first came to me, we talked about the connectivity of the lots and limited access to the frontage. So he's been well aware of that and been working with us on that from the beginning.
Okay.
And I also discussed that with him also when he met with me.
All right. I'm glad we're all on the same page. So thank you, guys.
Yeah.
So Nicole, I think you're trying to point out a few things. And again, I think thanks for being flexible. Are there opportunities for things that may also be considered a business park, like office or?
I'm not sure where our office use is, honestly.
It's under services.
Thank you. Oh, there it is. I went right by it. So it is permitted.
Okay. So if that, helps from a, planning commission perspective around a business park concept and some other things. So, just kind of keep that in mind as well, that they would be permitted if it was requested that way. So, all right. Thanks, Nicole.
Of note, there are also several conditional uses that are in the industrial and warehousing section, which is something that is mentioned in business parks. So under C2. So.
Thank you, Donna. All right. Any other questions, thoughts, or comments from any of the commissioners before we entertain a motion?
I am not a commissioner, but I do have a response for Nicole. She had asked about the legal description for the commercial lots for the zoning and the depth of those. Now, of course, it does go to the center line of that street that runs behind them, but it does look like it's about 251 feet. So that's how it was drawn with the legal description for the rezone.
You, Diane. All right. Last call for any of the commissioners. If not, then I would entertain a motion in regards to the rezone 20-24. Again, it's at 854 West Highway 102, and it's A1, and they're asking for C2 and R3 single family, and it's just over 60 acres. So I would entertain a motion.
This is Amber. I will make a motion to approve rezone 20-24 FSSCL LLC A1 to C2 and R3 single family.
This
This
is
is Craig,
John.
I'll second.
We have a motion and I heard a couple of seconds. Todd, it's your pick. And since it is a public hearing, I will ask for a roll call vote, please, Todd.
All right. Ben Lewis,
Yes.
John Sessoms,
Yes.
Jerry Harris,
Yes.
Tony Davis,
Yes.
Amber Beal,
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
and Jeff Seifarth.
Yes. All right. Thank you, guys. Good luck, Nick.
Thank you. Appreciate it, everybody.
All right, next on the agenda this evening is also a public hearing. This is for a rezone 20-25, the VFAM group. This is 9.82 acres. It is on the north side of Kimmel Road, west of Greenhouse Road, future Kimmel Ridge Phase 2. It's A1, and they're asking for R3 duplex. And so with that, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
It's John. I motion to open a public hearing.
Joey, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right. John, are you going to do this, or is Bapucci going to do the overview?
Yep, Jeff, this is John Worry. I'll represent the applicant on this. So this is planned to be a continuation of Kimmel Ridge. This was a property was platted as tract 1 with the Kimmel Ridge subdivision. And the intent is to develop it as a phase 2 of generally the same size lots, same type of structure, primarily duplexes. There would probably be a single family lot or 2 to fill in the ends, but the intent is to continue the same concept that's being built in phase 1. And I would be happy to try to answer any questions anyone has.
All right. Thank you, John. Diane, this looks like it is you as well. If you'll give us a staff overview.
Yes, it is me again. They are asking, as John said, for high density residential duplex. It's going to be similar to what's in the Kimmel Ridge subdivision right now. And of course, these would be for single family and 2 family dwellings with minimum lot areas of 8,500 square feet and 4,250 square minimum lot area per dwelling unit. So you'd have 80-foot wide lots, 25-foot setbacks from front and side streets, 20 feet from rear and 7 from the sides. It does access Kimmel Road, of course, as the main road there, and it will also connect to the existing street there in Kimmel Ridge Phase 1. Kimmel is designated a major collector on the master street plan, which should be an 80-foot right-of-way. And Rick will need to talk about, I know with the collector, there should be a path on both sides of the road, but I know that on this portion of Kimmel Road, the only one that's doing a path is on the south side, that'd be the 10-foot shared path, is Featherston, further down toward the west. You will also notice, Nicole, I think if you want to switch to the page, and I have both of the maps, it does show that part of this property is in a floodplain. And that is in the southern portion of the property that will not be developed. All of the development, there we go, is going to be north of that floodplain to remain out of that. Now, John, you will need a flood permit, should be required for this, even though you're not disturbing that. Noreen, feel free to correct me if I'm incorrect, but I believe that's how that works. The surrounding zoning, you're going to have, let's see, you have R3 multifamily to the north. That is watercolors apartments there to the north. Agriculture to the south and east, and the R3 duplex to the west, which is the Kimmel Ridge Phase 1. So the request for zoning to R3 duplex is considered compatible with the adjacent uses. And the land use plan is designated as medium high density residential. And that does consist of attached and detached single family residential homes with a density of like 7 to 11 units per acre. And it can include townhomes or duplex residential properties. So with that being said, the requested zoning to the R3 duplex is considered consistent with the land use plan's designation of medium high density residential. And I think that's all I have. So if you guys have any more questions, feel free to fire away.
All right, thank you, Diane. At this point, we'll go ahead and open it up to the public. And again, if you're virtual, there's the raise the hand option or the *9 or *9 if you're on the phone. And again, we do ask that you state your name and your address. And then with that, I would open it up to anyone from the public that wishes to speak. Diane, is there anyone that wishes to speak?
As of this moment, I do not see any hands raised.
All right, second call for anyone that wishes to speak in regards to the rezone 20-25.
Again, there are no hands raised.
All right, and we'll go ahead and do a third and final call.
There are no hands raised.
All right, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for rezone 2025.
This is Ben. I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, let's go ahead and go through our considerations.
I have, Jeff, before we start, I have one quick question because I'm so intimately aware of what happened in the other phase, and John brought it up when he was presenting it. There are a few single family homes scattered throughout the first phase, and I think John said there might be a couple on the second phase. I just wanted to make sure. I think when we rezoned it the first time, that might have been before we were designating the multifamily, single family. So with this sort of mix, how do we proceed with that?
I actually, the previous phase was also zoned R3 duplex. We zone it for the most intensive use, and then you all can consider whether lower intensity uses are applicable as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole.
That's a good question, Joey. I'll make sure to put that in the notes in case this comes up in the future.
Thank you, Todd, for being on top of it. The first thing for us to consider is the rezoning. Is the rezoning consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, including the adopted land use plan? If not, why? And I think that this one does agree with is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Does anybody disagree or have any thoughts in regards to that? So Todd, we're yes on that one. Is the proposed rezoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones? And I think this one is, in regards to the other residential that's, of course, attached or just west of it. So I would say yes. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? So I think we're okay on that one as well, Todd. The next one, would all permitted uses in the new zone be compatible in this location and surrounding areas? And Again, I think, the answer is yes on this one as well. Anybody have any thoughts or disagree with that? Todd, we're okay on that one. Would the rezoning provide a benefit to one landowner but not be considered for other similar properties in this area? And I think that it would not necessarily provide just one benefit that we would not consider. Does anybody have any thoughts or disagree with that one? Okay on that one as well, Todd. And then if the public is opposed, why? And then we had 0 public comments in regards to this rezone. Are there any questions, comments, or any thoughts from any of the commissioners before we consider the rezone?
This is Jerry. I've got a question. This is the first time that I can recall since we may have had this issue before, but I don't recall it. But this being in a part of a floodplain, will they be able to fill that and go ahead and use that land, or what's the normal procedure on that?
Nicole or Lorraine, do you have an answer for Gary, or even
Yeah.
if he has a?
I believe what they are proposing is that they're not going to encroach on it, but they will still have to do an analysis to show that there'll be no impact on the floodplain. And they'll have to submit that with the flood development permit. If a development were to look at wanting to fill part of a floodplain, then they will need to submit, well, the analysis. And if it's large, I ask them to do a CLOMR and submit that to FEMA. A CLOMR is a conditional letter of map revision where they're actually looking at changing the flood map. So it gets more involved than that, but that's just kind of the basic. But it's all determined by what they're going to do.
Yeah, did you hear that okay, Jerry? I know it was a little broken up.
I know.
Yeah, I heard it okay.
Okay.
Yes, basically, they're not allowed to just fill it in and use it for extra land.
Yeah, they can, but they got to go through steps to show that it's mitigated. It's not going to cause any issues. So they can, Jerry, but it didn't look like they were based on their conceptual.
Yeah,
I saw that. Looks like that they've got that driveway coming out there from that other phase 1. And that looks like what they'll use. So yeah, I'm okay. I just had that question. I hadn't come across that before, and I just wanted an answer.
It's a good question. I actually drove by there the other day. It's pretty wet. So
It does kind of border Greenhouse Lake there, doesn't it?
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, good question, Jerry. Thanks for asking. Any other questions or comments before we move on to the potential vote? All right. If not, then I would entertain a motion for rezone 20-25, the VFAM group. Again, this is 9.82 acres on the north side of Kimmel Road, west of Greenhouse, and they're asking for A1 to R3 duplex.
This is Amber. I will make a motion to approve rezone 20-25 VFAM group A1 to R3 duplex.
John, I'll second.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a couple of seconds as well. Todd, this is a public hearing. If you'll do a roll call vote for me, please.
Sure. Ben Lewis,
Yes.
John Sessoms,
Yes.
Jerry Harris,
Yes.
Tony Davis,
Yes.
Amber Beal,
Yes.
Greg Langford,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
and Jeff Seifarth.
Yes. All right. Thanks, John. Good luck.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Jeff, I do have one quick question if I could ask.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead, John.
When Joey was asking the question about the single family in the R3 duplex, it was breaking up and I couldn't hear the feedback. I just want to confirm. that it is allowable to build a single family lot in the R3 duplex zoning.
As long as it is a lesser use, then yes, it is allowable.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Next on the agenda this evening is our third and final public hearing. And this is for a conditional use permit. This is conditional use 20-12, Amazing Child Care. It's the requesting residential child care use. I have a note for up to 8 children. The address is 1251 Torbay Trace. It is also known as lot 111 in the Kensington Hills subdivision. And it is R3 residential, and it is 0.61 acres. So with that, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
This is Ben. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for conditional use 20-12.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right. Ann Vallette, are you with us now? Would you like to just give us an overview of what you're requesting this evening?
And Violette, if you can hear us, I've allowed you to speak. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Okay, sorry about that. What we wanted to go over is having a bigger set of children. We got accepted for 7, but we have 2 within the same families that have already signed up that will be arriving in the near future and want to be in the child care as well. And we want to talk about like the purpose of the group setting, like about amazing childcare. Like we want to maintain a small group of children within, like I said, 10 kids at the most, no more than 10. It would be from 5 families only because those other siblings would be within the same families that have already signed up. So there wouldn't be no more than 5 cars. And like I'll explain traffic. We have a setup system and schedule for parents for drop-in and pickup. So a parent will have a schedule to drop off their kid. After that parent drops off their kid, the next one will come in, and they're only allowed to be on the driveway, not on the side of the streets so we don't have any kind of traffic or complaints. And another thing I wanted to go over is we will only be here until November. So we only plan on staying here for a year until in the future we go commercial wise. And, but yeah, that's what I wanted to go over with you guys.
All right. I just want to make sure that I understood because I'll make sure everything's clear. So you got approval for 7. Is that what you said?
Yes, we got approved for 7, but DHS did approve us for 29. But like I said, I just would like to just have 10 at the most.
Okay.
Those 3 other kids that would be included, if possible, would be within the same families that have already signed up. There would be siblings with the kids that have already signed up, like I said, and they would stay within that same group of families. So there wouldn't be any more like an extra car or an extra family like coming in or coming out.
Okay. And then schedule that you would have to drop off and pick up. How many employees do you anticipate?
Just 2.
Okay. Will those 2 folks be parked in the
People
driveway?
that are living in the house.
Will they be parked in your driveway as well?
In the garage.
In the garage?
The people living here would be parked in the garage, and the parents picking up and dropping off would be the ones taking up the space in the driveway.
How about your 2 employees?
It would be the owner of the person renting the house and the other person living in the house.
Okay. If you'll just hang on for us, we may come back and have some questions for you.
Okay.
Donna, do you want to go ahead and give us an overview from staff?
Sure, I can do that. The map here is a close-up of the house location. It is on 1251 Torbay Trace. The Ambulette is requesting a home occupation conditional use for residential childcare. For our code, it is limited to 8 children. The property is zoned R3 high density residential for single family use. We could go to the next page, please. So it is a rental property, and per the owner agreement, the only people who can park, like there is a lease agreement that we have been provided, and there are some restrictions such as the garage can only be used for parking by the tenant. So we have been given a narrative as part of this conditional use. Some of this Ambulette has already gone over, so I will skim over parts of it. It is a residential childcare to teach a small group of children. There are no structures changes proposed to the house. The hours of operation proposed are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Holidays would be closed. Next page, please. This is a larger view, just to show how the property would be accessed from Centerton Boulevard. The only 2 ways to get into the Kensington Hills neighborhood are from Brighton Road and Berkshire Road, Drive. The property is outlined in red. Next page, please. This is the floor plan of the house. I received this earlier today and had to make a few modifications to the narrative. So if I'm wrong, please feel free to correct me, Ambulette. There are 4 bedrooms in the house. 1 will be used for toddlers and pre-K. 1 will be used for pre-K. 1 will be used for babies from 3 months to 18 months. The living room is designed with a work table. The dining room, it will be used for paints and crafts. The kitchen will be used for preparing food, and the bathrooms will be used for hygiene. The 2 bedrooms will be used for personal use.
That is correct.
There is a yard, which is fenced, where the children will also be able to use. Originally, the garage was also supposed to be used, but as of late last month, DHS said that wouldn't be an option, so it would only be a garage.
It is. That's correct. Correct.
All right. And this is the outside of the house. Okay. We did look at the Kensington Hills covenants earlier, and they state that no owner shall be allowed to conduct any business or commercial activity or enterprise upon any lot. So that is something to consider when looking, when you go to make a motion. We discussed with Brian earlier today, and it may be best for Brian to state his opinion himself. But generally speaking, I believe his thought was that the city cannot enforce the covenants. We did also do a little more research, and I do not believe there is an active POA in the Kensington Hills neighborhood.
So you, Donna, you've kind of hit my point exactly. While we cannot enforce the covenants, that's contractual in nature between the homeowners themselves. I think that's something we definitely need to be mindful of. And my advice would be to potentially get something from them indicating that they're willing to give an exception to this. Now, if the POA is not active, that's not very easy for her to get but still, I think it's imperative that we kind of maintain a symbiotic relationship with the POA with regards to the covenants that they have.
Thank you, Brian.
Brian, while you're on the line, if there's no POA to enforce it, how does she get a blessing from him?
Well, I mean, it's she would have to look and see what's involved in the covenants with regards to that. The covenants still exist. It may just not be active.
This is Tony. So I'm a little confused. So is there a POA in existence now? Do they have a certified, like president, secretary, all that? Is it a foreign POA or is it non-existent and it's defunct? Are they paying a POA home association fee?
As far as we know, there's not a POA.
But the covenants, I would suspect, are registered with all the deeds in that neighborhood. So they, even though they do not have an active POA, they are still bound to each other with regards to the requirements in those covenants.
But then it comes down to the enforcement, Tony, which I think is what what we would have to think about. So, if we were to approve it, let's say, and they started, then if the POA was active, then what Brian is saying is the POA would then be responsible for any action based on what's been filed from a POA and from a covenant perspective. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I have two questions. One question is the request appears to say up to eight children, and then Neva is for 10 tonight. And then who approved up to 7? Did the city approve this previously, or is this a DHS approval?
So the 8 is based off of what we allow. The 7, I believe, is DHS, and the 10 is what the applicant is requesting this evening.
How can more be requested than DHS will allow?
DHS did approve for 29 kids in total, but we want to keep it at 10.
So DHS approved 29.
Yes, because of the space of the measurements of the house. But due to COVID, we want to keep a small group setting, like I said.
And Jeff,
So
correct me if I'm wrong, but from our code, the max is 8. Is that right?
Correct. Todd, did you have a second question, or did you ask all those in one?
No, well, the second question was, did we approve a business license previously, the one that allowed them to have 7 children in there, or Have they just been operating a business there?
I don't know the answer to that question.
What was the question again?
Have you guys been operating with 7 as of right now or not?
No, we have 7 signed up so far.
There you go, Todd.
That answers it. Thank you.
Okay.
Question, this is Tony with a question. This conditional use is just valid for a year, right? Does she have to come back every year to renew this?
We can put whatever restrictions we want, Tony. So we could put any review period that would be suggested as part of any approval. So we could say 3 months, 6 months, you know, if she only said November, we could put it to November. So we could put whatever restrictions would be suggested in regards to that. Donna, do you want to keep going and finish out the staff findings?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, thank you. And if everyone else could mute, that would be great. I'm getting some feedback that's making it a little bit more difficult to hear. Thank you, Brian.
So per chapter 140410B, home occupations, home occupations must meet the following requirements to be considered for a conditional use permit by the Planning Commission. Traffic generated must not negatively impact the safety, ambience, and characteristics of the residential neighborhood. Per the map that I showed earlier, the parcel is currently only accessible from Centerton Boulevard to the south. And the east property line is approximately 200 feet from the start of the intersection of Torbay Trace and Windsor Drive. So if there were a lot of cars showing up at the same time, there is a possibility that there could be some buildup of traffic. At the time of drop off and pickup, Ann Violette has stated that parents are to notify staff of their arrival 10 minutes prior to collecting their child, and one of the employees will monitor the process. Parents will start dropping off at 7:30 to 9, and parents will pick up children from 4:30 to 6. And the lease agreement restricts the use of the 2-car garage to only the tenant. So any employees, if Planning Commission approved them, would not be able to park in the garage. Number 2, the home occupation is not primarily retail. That is not applicable, as this is not a retail occupation. Number 3, the home occupation does not involve storage of hazardous materials. Not applicable. Number 4, the home occupation does not create noise, vibration, glare, fumes, electromagnetic interference, odors, or air pollution outside a structure. So the only item particularly of note with this is that if there are children playing outside, they're going to make noise, as children do. 5, the home occupation is solely operated by the owner and occupants of the dwelling. No non-resident persons are employed or independently contracted. As of an email I had received earlier, I was told that the only employee other than Ann Violette was going to be her mother. Earlier in the application process, it had been stated that there were going to be 2 employees, but as of earlier today, it was just going to be Ann Violette and her mother. So it's varied a little bit. So there is also, per the minimum licensing requirements, there are ratios that have to be met based on the age of the children. So based on 1 or 2 caregivers, there needs to be a certain number of children based on ages. So those will have to be met. Whatever number of employees who live at the house, or per the code, employees have to be residents. Also of note is in the same minimum licensing requirements, the primary caregiver's own preschool age children shall be included in the caregiver child ratio, and the primary caregiver's own school age children are not considered in this ratio. At this point, we could move on to conditions of approval, or we could open it up to discussion.
I think we pause for just a little bit, Donna, if you're okay with that. And we'll come back to these. When I went through these, a lot of these seem like some things that we've already discussed and or had questions on. So we'll come back to this in just a second, okay? So before we open it up to the public, I did just want to make a note that there were 4 emails / letters, if you will, that were submitted that were part of your packets. And so
there was an additional one that I received late today that should have been in the digital packet.
okay,
That's from a client in favor of the daycare.
that was in favor.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So let's take that total to 5. Todd, while you're making notes there were 4 in my packet. So with that, we're going to open it up to the public. And again, for those of you that wish to speak, there's an opportunity to raise your hand, and or there's an opportunity to do a *9 or *9 if you called in. What we ask is that you state your name, address, and then we do, ask for a 3 to 5 minute, time range for courtesy for others that wish to speak. So with that, we'll go ahead and open it up to anyone that wishes to speak.
Okay, we
Hi.
have some. Oh, go ahead, Donna.
Angela Berger.
Hello.
Hi,
Thank
Angela.
you. Hello. Hi. Very nice to meet you guys and have the opportunity to attend this meeting tonight. I just wanted to take a moment to share a broader point of view because I feel like it's really relevant and this is really important to me. And that is that this is about more than just a line item, I think, on an agenda. I think, it's important to note that we are in the middle of a global health pandemic. If you look at the statistics, you probably know that nearly 1/4 of the nation's childcare centers are remaining closed right now because of COVID-19. More than 250,000 daycare workers have lost their jobs, and millions of families across the country have been left with limited or no childcare at all due to the impact of COVID-19. And I've done a little bit of research, and I've seen that actually there have been several communities across the country that have began to modify their regulations in order to remove the hurdles for new childcare services to be available, and particularly for residential and in-home settings. I think childcare is a critical infrastructure that we need to make accommodations for in order to have economic recovery. I think it's a great need in our community, and I think anything that can be done to increase the availability of safe, quality childcare for the benefit of the residents and the families that live and work in this area is a positive thing. I do believe that we need all types and sizes of childcare options to sustain and support our community, especially given the current health environment. Unfortunately, we've seen many small businesses close, and we may continue to see them close, which makes any efforts directed by this council and this commission to support the creation of a new business along with access to safe, high quality childcare even more critical. I think Anne Violet has had outlined the process she has in place so that we would not create more traffic. I actually did a little bit of math myself, and I saw that there are 123 homes in this neighborhood. And so if you take 123 and you, that's 122, not including that home, you multiply that by 2. So then that would, let's say you have 244 vehicles coming in and out of this neighborhood. We would be adding an additional 6 with the families, which is less than 2.5% increase in traffic in the neighborhood. And I think, the majority of that would be happening after children are already in school in the neighborhood. And like Anne Violet had stated, we would be willing to do a staggered start and stop time so that we aren't creating any sort of traffic issues. But again, that would be only 6 additional cars since the 2 employees that are working there would already be living there. So you're talking about a few families, all with siblings, that are coming together to create a really small, safe, enclosed environment for their children. And so I just wanted to stress that and just know that the decision that you make will have a really big and important impact on the livelihood of, not only our children, but to us as parents and to Anne Violet as a small business owner. And I just wanted to raise that because this is really important to me, especially as, someone who has 2 small kids under 2 and no family in the state or anywhere nearby. I think similar to many of the other families, it's really important that we have a safe environment to send our kids. And this is really important to me. So really appreciate your time and consideration in this matter. It really means a lot. So thank you.
Angela, can I get your address for the record, please?
Sure. It's 613 North 4th Street in Rogers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Donna, are there other folks that wish to speak? You're on mute, Donna, so I can't hear.
Yes, just a sec. Aaron, I've allowed you to speak.
Great. Thanks everyone again for the opportunity to join the meeting. My name is Erin Eichelberger. My address is 4901 South Inglewood Road in Rogers. And the reason I'm joining is I'm another one of the families that have signed up to participate in the daycare. And just to kind of add on a couple points to what Angela just went through, we are also in a similar position where we are 2 working parents with 2 children under 2. And we don't have family that are in the area. We, in the past, have used traditional daycares, but when the pandemic hit, because of the situation we're in of not being around our family, we needed to find a different environment for our children in order to be able to work and to provide for our family. And so that's the reason why we are really interested in a small in-home environment, so we don't need to deal with classrooms closing and things of that nature. As we were going through this process and supporting Anne Violet along the way, the biggest call out to us was that could be a barrier was the incremental traffic. And so I just want to reiterate, as Anne Violet did and as Angela said, the request is for 10 children above 8, but really there's no traffic that would be an increase if you approve 10 kids versus from 8, because many of the families are from the same sibling set. So again, I think another point that hasn't been made is that the vehicles would be primarily going against the primary traffic flow. So in the mornings, we would be coming into the neighborhood, whereas many vehicles are going out. In the evening, we'd be going out of the neighborhood versus vehicles being in. There's multiple entrance and exits into the neighborhood that can be utilized, so that helps to minimize congestion. I think one other point I just wanted to respond to that was brought up in the staff overview was Noise, again, just want to point out, we're talking about 10 children here, many of them under the age of 2, some of them even babies. So, you know, while children do make noise outdoors, I think it would probably be minimal and probably not incremental to if it was, you know, a family that was living there with their children playing in, you know, in the backyard from time to time. And then finally, just, you know, want to point out, I think, you know, some of the other concerns that were potentially raised was, you know, it is in a residential environment, there could be, you know, that where there is traffic flowing in and out, is there a danger to the children that are coming in? And I just want to reiterate, you know, I really think as a mom right now and a working parent, that the safest place for my children right now are in a small in-home daycare under the care of Ann Violet, where they can be in a smaller classroom setting, they can be safe, contained, and comfortable during this really unique time. So thank you again for the opportunity to participate in the meeting. Like Angela, this is something where is really important to me, and we are really passionate about. And I hope that you know, we'll be able to get the result that we're hoping for.
All right, thank you, Aaron. Donna, is there others that wish to speak?
Yes, we have 2 more hands.
Okay.
Sergio, I will allow you to speak. Please unmute. You are very quiet.
Yeah, Sergio, we can't hear you. I heard your name, but it's very, very faint.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. So this is Sergio, the owner of 1251 Torby Trace. I had several meetings with the owner of this childcare before deciding to rent the property. After going over some of my concerns regarding traffic and parking, and explicitly disallowing any events that would considerably increase parked cars, and with parent drop-off and pickup happening at different times throughout the day, I feel confident that traffic increase will be minimal with this childcare, and that it would be overall good for the community. And regarding the garage parking, we can amend the contract to allow employees to park in the garage as well.
All right, thank you, Sergio. And Donna, we have one more, is that correct?
Yes. Harold?
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Harold Eichelberger. I'm 2511 South Everest Avenue. I live in Rogers, Arkansas. My wife and I, we signed up for Violette's daycare. Our youngest daughter, our oldest daughter is 3 years old. When we first moved to Arkansas from Atlanta, we were looking for a place for our daughter to go, and Avio was at a different place before. And so my daughter has known Avio since she was about 6 years old. So she's been about 6 months. And so they developed a great relationship and rapport over the years. And that's played a huge impact for us in terms of signing up for the daycare. One of our biggest concerns has been about COVID, and we left our previous facility because of exposure to COVID, as well as other issues around that and high risk factors. So we pulled her out. And so once I was able to get Violette, my daughter Lark together to kind of reunite, there was a very special time for us. We just had another daughter. She's 2 months old, and so we will be a family of 2, adding to the grand total what we're looking for. So this is something we really need. My wife and I, we don't have any family here, just many like the other parents who are interested as well. We're both working parents, and we feel as though that the school is the safest place for our children. We are eager and excited for this to happen for Ann Violette, and I think she'll be a great asset to the community of Centerton and just the entire daycare community here in the city. So I fully support her, what she's done, her mission and her vision. And yeah, that's all I have for now. So thank you for opening up the floor for me.
All right, I appreciate it. And I think Donna said Harold, so I hope that's correct. Apologize if not. That's what I heard. So thank you for your support. So Donna, has anyone else raised their hand?
I do okay.
No, there are no hands raised at this time.
So we'll do a second call.
I did already.
And we'll do a third and final call.
Still no hands.
So with that, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
This is Craig, I second.
We have a motion and we have a second to close the public hearing. Is anyone opposed? All right, just a couple of notes on the comments for us to consider. Number one, from a what we have to consider. I understand what she has proposed, and I understand the support from the folks that have signed up. But one of the things we also have to consider is if this was approved, and for whatever reason, the group of kids changed, it could potentially create other things, whether it's noise, understand from a traffic perspective, if there's, 3 families per se, that's only, 3 cars versus if there's really 6 or 7, up to 8 maybe, then that could potentially be 8 if things change. So just food for thought as we, think about what, was presented this evening versus, a longer term, play on this. So, just kind of keep that in mind. And I know that we usually do that as we consider, the conditional uses and we consider, the various, things that we go through. So just wanted to point that out. And again, we appreciate the, the folks that joined, and shared, not only emails, but also the information tonight in regards to the support for this conditional use. I will open it up for any other questions or thoughts from any of the commissioners before we go back to Donna's page, if you will, just to give Nicole a heads up for things for us to consider.
I have a question. What is the final employee count requested?
So I believe that based on what was just shared by Donna, based on an email, I believe from Ann-Valette, is it would be Ann-Valette and her mother would be the 2 folks that would be the employees, if you will, and would be at the daycare each day. Ann-Valette, is anything different than that?
No, you're correct. Just 2.
Okay, thank you.
So with that, looking at the DHS chart, I heard of the supporters that were talking, I heard at least 4 that had kids under 2 years of age, and just with 2 employees, whether that's allowed or not, that would, I would assume, limit you to 8 children. Is that correct?
Hold on, I'm looking at my.
Be on the left column, it says 2, and then C, 8 number of children, no more than 4 under 2 years of age.
So ¿cuántos van a tener? Ya, vale. Si vamos a tener más, pues buscaríamos a una persona. Sí, bueno, necesitaríamos contratar. In that case, hold on, I'm looking at the charts and asking her. ¿Te estás escuchando? Yo tengo una pregunta. Violet. Ven. Ellos están preguntando.
And while she's looking that up, we did receive a comment from Eichelberger, and she said she wanted to clarify she has one that just turned 2 and one that's 6 months old. She said she misspoke earlier.
Okay, well, that brings us to a bigger point. Code states no employees. The request is requesting 1 employee. Personally, I don't see any issue with the parking or the drop off with the traffic, as long as they follow what they put here in this conditional use. Now, obviously, that'll be something we monitor, and if there's complaints, that might be something we have to address. The other issue are the covenants. To Brian's point, I don't know that that's something that we enforce. Would it be nice to line up with them and be symbiotic, as he said? Yeah, but I don't know we enforce our code, and our code says that this can happen with the conditional use. So really, I think my only hang up is the employee and what we all think about that.
This is Lorraine. I thought the employee was just under the home occupation, but because they didn't meet the home occupation requirements, that's why they submitted a conditional use. So we're actually under the conditional use requirements.
Okay. And
Is that
frankly,
correct?
I don't see an issue with an employee if there's garage parking. There'd be one car in the driveway. One car could pull up and drop off kids. I don't see an issue with it. I just wanted everybody to be on the same page.
Right. And I know it is kind of confusing using the employees, because typically it would be like the owner and the employee. So like there would be like one employee and she's running the business. But I'm just trying to clarify. I would say 2 caregivers, but it is a little difficult. When you say 2 employees, you're automatically thinking 3 people. Right?
So just to clarify, and I can try to pull up the code so you guys can see it. We're operating under point B, which is the home occupation must meet the following requirements to be considered for a conditional use permit by the Planning Commission. And under that, point 5 is that the home occupation is solely operated by the owners and occupants of the dwelling. No non-resident persons are employed or independently contracted. So it doesn't necessarily limit the number, it limits to the occupants.
Okay. I do know that we have approved home occupations where they've had employees, come in, whether it's to do a little office work or if like the carpet cleaner, pick up a van and take it out, or okay. I don't know. Before I had remembered that, we would allow one or employee at least. So maybe that's something that I wasn't aware. I was thinking that was just with the home occupation.
This may be a question for Brian or Lorraine in your experience, but are those types of things that are controlled with variances? Can she come back separately and ask for a variance from that portion of the code? And that also applies to her request for the 10 instead of 8. Is that a possibility for her? Because with the conditional use, we can't necessarily grant her anything contrary to code, but the variance may allow that.
And my initial response is I'm not positive, but but it does not seem to me that would be something that would be that we could utilize the variance for. That would be something I'd have to look at a little more in depth. But my off the cuff answer is no.
Well, it's part of the zoning code, and whenever they don't follow the strict guidelines of the requirements of the zoning code, then a variance is the only way that they can request that. I will say that when some of this was written, the opinion was, well, if they can't meet it, they can always come and ask for a variance, because at that time variances weren't considered as the hardship wasn't considered as much as the impact was. So this probably is an area that we need to revisit for sure in our when we work on
And that's where I
code.
struggle too, because even if it was something, it's my position that there has to be a substantial hardship to even grant that, and that would be a completely additional analysis that we have not gone through this evening. But
And I think the hardship that has been brought up is basically COVID and the current kind of climate with childcare needs and meeting those. And again, I'm just bringing this up to discuss as an option. I'm not sure if it's a sufficient hardship, if it's you know, even an option. I just wanted to talk through it.
Okay.
And
I just know,
also,
like on our sign code, we don't really look at the variances as hardships, as, okay, did they have a different type of sign? It's not addressed, you know, it doesn't quite meet our sign code. And so we allow that. I do know that we have allowed employees, you know, like one employee with a conditional use
I mean, so
or an in-home
Lorraine,
business.
Lorraine, I'm not personally, I'm not hung up on the employee. I just want to be fair to all the other in-home daycares that we have around here
Yeah.
that we previously approved. You know, if they didn't have that opportunity, then it's certainly not fair to do it willy-nilly. And I guess that's where I'm at with that. I don't have
Well,
an
that's
issue
what I'm
with an employee.
saying. The ones previously did have help, you know, did have someone else assisting them. As far as I know right now, the only one that we have is Happy Corral that has an in-home daycare. And I don't know how many employees she has, but several. But she was, you know, she was grandfathered in because she was operating prior to the code of limiting to 8 children.
Okay. So
I'm just wondering if it's the way that the conditional use was written, that it was a home occupation that was limiting it to no employees. So therefore they would have to do a conditional use. I'm just wondering if something about the way it was written is, but I'm trying to find that code section right now.
Do you guys see my screen? I think I pulled it up.
Yeah, I think you got it.
Okay, oops, it's moving, but it should be on your screen, Lorraine.
Right, but those are
it's-
home occupations.
Well, but this is the conditional use permit version of the home occupation. The A is the actual home occupation without a conditional use permit. I'm sorry, it keeps jumping. It's saying if the home occupation does not meet one or more of the requirements below, it must be approved by the Planning Commission through the conditional use procedure. And so when this process started, a couple of these triggered her to go to the conditional use process, which is B. These are the requirements to be considered for the conditional use permit by the Planning Commission. And
so
then,
which
But I thought you just said that she had to go to conditional use. Okay.
that's what this is.
so what was
Unless
the,
I'm misunderstanding.
what was the flag above, Nicole, that created the conditional use then? Do you or Donna?
Donna, do you recall? There were a couple.
Home occupation occupying more than 25% of the dwelling unit was one. The employees was another one.
But that's not in this section.
It's number 2.
Okay.
And that's the same thing as below, really.
So it's really down to 25%.
Well, okay, but it says an occupants of the dwelling.
But it really gets down to the 25% then, if I'm hearing this correctly.
The other portion of the code specifically for residential childcare is down below as an example.
Okay. I think what I'd like to do is just kind of go through what I understand, which I think is kind of where Joey's at as well, just so I understand what has been presented and then what we're considering, and then we'll open it up for any other questions. So understand there was a request for 10, but based on code, we should consider 8, is what I'm understanding. There would be 2, I will call them people that would be at the daycare that would be, call it working, that would be there to oversee the operation, if you will. The hours of operation, 7 to 6 or 7:30. I heard 7:30 to 6, with drop off between 7:30 and 9 in the morning is what I heard.
Yes, hours are 7 to 6. And drop off is 7:30 to 9. Pickup is 4:30 to 6.
Okay. And then the request was through November. At least that's what, if I remember, Anvilette, that's what was stated as well. I think that's the major things under consideration, just for a little bit of clarification, because I know we went back and forth a couple of times. Just looking here. So with that, are there any other questions, thoughts, comments from any of the commissioners?
And Violette's hand is raised.
Go ahead, Don. Sorry.
And Violette's hand is raised if you want to hear from her.
Anvilette, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was raising my hand when you guys were talking about the ratio of kids. I was gonna say I can get back to DHS to check on that, since you guys were saying the 2 people working wouldn't be enough for the amount of kids are gonna be. But like I said, I can talk to DHS about that, since she looked at the charts and she didn't point any of that out.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else from staff that we need to consider, or that you have any thoughts or questions on?
Oh, I am going to just go through this. As we go through the home occupations, A is geared towards administrative approval, section A. If it doesn't meet one of those, then it goes to B, where it needs to meet these items to go for the commission. And then C is just examples where it limits it up to 8. But so that's where even the 25%, it throws it to the B category.
Okay.
The other thing,
and that's why it comes to you. It comes to the planning commission for approval instead of administrative approval.
The other thing we looked at was the schedule of uses, and it also says that it needs a conditional use permit for residential childcare up to 8 children. So,
yes.
Okay.
Just to clarify that.
And so based on what we know today, there's one other that is considered a home with a child care inside. Is that correct? And it's the one that's on Main Street?
That's the only one that I am aware of. If there are other ones operating, we don't have record of them.
Okay. But just for the commissioners, because I know there are some that are new, We have in the past approved a couple, to the best of my knowledge. And I had a conversation with staff today that time flies. It could have been, 5 years ago or so, even, since we had approved them, but went through the same process, as we considered the home occupation for childcare in the past. So there have previously been some others, that have gone through the commissioner in regards to a conditional use as well. So just a few folks on the commission that would not be aware of that. If there are no other comments or questions, then I would entertain a motion from the commissioners in regards to the conditional use 20-12, the amazing childcare at 1251 Torbay Trace.
So here are my thoughts on it. If we have one other home occupation operating as a daycare that clearly don't follow these rules because they were grandfathered in beforehand, with what they've presented, with what they presented and the excess that they want to go above what we specify in the conditional use, I don't see that making or breaking this on my decision. I don't think one employee and 8 to 10 children would impact my decision one way or another. I don't think 2 extra kids makes me feel strong enough to say, no, this is a bad idea. So with that said, I'll make a motion to approve it with the extra employee up to 10 kids, as long as they follow the drop off, everything that we went over today, the drop off, the parking. Obviously there's other conditions on here from different departments. You need to backflow, fire, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I'll make a motion to approve it based on that.
This is Tony, I second.
Okay, we do have a motion and we have a second. Joey, do you want to specify a time period?
Yes, she said November. Let's make it 1 year. And if we keep going after that, it'll just come back and we'll reevaluate.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and we have a second for approval of the conditional use. Todd, this was a public hearing, so if you'll do a roll call vote for me, please.
Ben Lewis,
Yes.
John Sessoms,
Yes.
Jerry Harris,
Yes.
Tony Davis,
Yes.
Amber Beal,
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
and Jeff Seifarth.
Yes. Anvelette, thank you. I know there's still a lot of things to finish up, and get some clarification on, before you get started. And again, keep in mind that with the conditional use, as it states, there's always an opportunity for those, things to be reviewed and whatnot, if anybody brings those, to us or to the staff. But thanks for, going through all this and, good luck.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it all.
All right. Next on the agenda, under other business, Mayor Bill, are you still with us? I believe you wanted to bring something up under other business.
I am. I think Nicole has a diagram for us. I think.
I do. Just give me a second to get to
Oh,
it.
no,
real
no,
quick.
no. We're good. I didn't know you were hearing me. So.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, is this it?
Can you see my screen?
I do, yes.
Yep.
All right, so Commission, I've been in contact with a restaurant in Bentonville who wants to put another location here in Centerton. It's a popular restaurant. I won't disclose that tonight, but what they're proposing is they're looking at the 2 vacant units over where the Verizon store is, next to Goodwill and in between Verizon and Goodwill. And what they are proposing, this is going to be a restaurant and also an ice cream shop combination. They will have a nice menu, so they'll be serving food. Also, they will have mixed drinks available here at this location. But what they're proposing is they like to put a patio in front of the building, take up these 4 parking spots that Nicole has highlighted in red, and they'll put a wooden deck there. There'll be railings on it and gates and all that where you just couldn't just walk in and out. And he is about to go in negotiations for this property. I told him I would like to, before he did that, to just kind of bounce it off the planning commission, make sure you guys felt good, because it will require a conditional use permit. I have spoke to staff, Lorraine and Nicole, myself spoke, because we were worried about parking here, but according to Nicole, we have 7 more spots than's needed, and this will take 4, so we'll still meet the parking requirement. So I just wanted to bring this up before he went in negotiations. If you guys kind of feel good with it, I'll have him come back to the planning commission and make formal conditional use for this. But I didn't want to. I think we all feel good about it as staff, but I just wanted to kind of bounce it off the commission to see what y'all felt like.
The question I have now that I've seen the diagram, and I know we briefly talked about this, would one of those be in front of the Goodwill, or 2 of those be in front of the Goodwill?
No, all 4 of them will be in front of what he wants to rent.
Okay.
I think, Bill, actually, this is, I don't know how Goodwill uses this front door, but this door shown on the exhibit is for the Goodwill unit. They primarily operate, I believe,
on the
they drop
sides.
off on the side. So I don't know if it will impact them, but it is the 4 spaces that they're considering it will be in front of Goodwill. Is that
so
right,
Jeff,
Bill, if I'm understanding?
Yeah, I thought all 4 were in front, but they might not be. I have to go back over and look, but it'll be 4 consecutive spots.
Okay. Any thoughts, objections from any of the commissioners?
This is Jerry. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This-
and
I'm in-
go ahead, Tony.
No, I was going to say I'm in support with the restrictions we have with the COVID and enclosed building spaces. I mean, this is I think, opportunity to allow some people to safely dine, with the current conditions we're in. I think I don't have any objection to it.
Yeah, it'll bring us another dining option too, because it is a very popular restaurant in our neighboring city, so it'll be an addition.
So I'm not hearing any objections.
Okay.
So I would
well,
say,
I'll tell them proceed on then.
yeah, I would just want a little bit of clarification on that, spot, and it probably is part of his negotiation, and whatever agreement may be in place with Goodwill. I don't know if they guarantee them any parking or not, but that would be the only thing, just talking out loud, that they may have to potentially adjust some things there, in order to meet parking. But otherwise, I think the commission's in favor of it.
Hey, Bill, I would recommend
Yes,
to
sir.
that owner developer, if he can get a letter from Goodwill, or if those are solely on him, I don't have an issue with it. I really don't have an issue with it. But if he could get a letter from his neighbor, if they are in fact in front of the Goodwill, saying that they don't object to it, I think that'd help him out too.
Okay, I might have him bring it up with the property owner, because that's Flake.
Yeah.
What did it? Yeah, I can have him. I'll write when I write back to him. I'll tell him that.
I'm assuming that Goodwill is a leased space for them, right? So
I
So
believe
then-
they're all leased, yes.
Yeah, so maybe then to Joey's point, then maybe the letter needs to come from Flake and Kelly because there could be a different person leasing from that space in the future.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll write that to him tonight when I write back to him.
I'd like to remind everybody that's just a Goodwill drop off. You pull up out front and they pick up everything out of your vehicle. So it's very quick and in and out. I've used it several times.
Cool.
Thank you, Rick.
Same here.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Bill.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you, Commission.
Under announcements, our next meeting is scheduled for 1/19 of 2021.
And Jeff, I'm sorry, we did have a couple other items if you'll entertain them.
Nope. Bill talked to me earlier, so I let him go. I don't know about the others, but go ahead.
And Lorraine, did you want to cover them?
I'll start. I know that Leanna sent an email out to everyone asking about iPads. I have Craig, Tony, Jerry, Devin, and Ben on the list that need iPads. Is there anyone else?
What's the criteria for a new iPad?
That your old one doesn't work or you don't have a means of.
I think we were just trying to decide it on ones that were no longer able to be updated or functioning properly.
I told her I'd try to charge it before the meeting and let her know, but I couldn't find my charging cord. I think it's at work. So I'll get back with y'all on mine. I know it's pretty old.
Okay.
Put Joey down for
Yeah.
a charging cord.
Yeah. I think we've got but Joey, yours is probably, I don't know that yours can get updates. You have one that's old
Mine's
too.
old. Mine's real old.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Is there anyone else? Okay. The other thing I just want to bring to your attention, those that have been on the commission are familiar with the statement of financial interest form. It is a form that you fill out that you have to disclose any businesses you're in and so forth. That goes to the county, gets filed with the county. The statement of financial interest, it will be on like last year's information. And Pam, I gave her everyone's email, so she will be sending that form out to the commission if she has not already done so. Typically, those are due by January 31st. So as soon as you can get those back in, they do require your signature to be notarized. If you want to bring them into City Hall, we have several notaries and be happy to notarize them for you.
If you need last year's version to be able to kind of copy across, we can usually come up with that for you as well. But we will hound you before the end of the month.
You don't want to be on the bad list for not having your disclosure in
Correct.
on time. Keep in mind that, Pam may or may not send you a check. So it was on my list tonight as well. So please be diligent. If there's any questions at all, feel free to reach out, to anyone at staff or, even myself, and we can try to help you through. They are pretty self-explanatory, but definitely something that's required for us as a planning commissioner.
Quick question. City Hall closes at 5, right? If we swing by before 5, are we able to get those notarized?
Yes, if you'll let us know when you're coming, we'll make sure that we have a notary there.
All right, thank you.
Another item is the Arkansas chapter of the American Planning Association memberships. Typically, we just sign up everyone that's a planning commissioner. I believe that's what we did last year. And I know that some of you have probably received emails. Those of you that have been on the commission received an email from APA that is letting you know that your chapter dues are due in January. I think it's the 19th. So luckily we have Nicole that is the treasurer. And so she feels that she can go in and probably make the start accounts for the new members, and then she'll send you an email, and then you can with the password, and then you can go in and change it and change your profile and everything. But she's to do this, then that will help us. She can create an invoice, and then I will pay everyone's. Is that acceptable to everyone on the commission? And I would like to also include John, Brian, and Todd. And is there anyone else like
I support this message.
Rick? Okay. Any of the department heads that would like to be an APA member?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Nicole, you can just waive our fees, right?
You waive them. Yeah.
I think my AICP accreditation would frown on that.
And I'm telling you too, as the membership chair.
Yeah,
that's right.
We got double whammy here. So, okay. And Nicole, you have the master street plan for Bentonville pulled up, and I'll let you go ahead and discuss that. She compared what we had and with them. So we found out that this was on their agenda tonight they have a resolution proposed. So we
Yeah,
wanted to
and
look at it.
I didn't get to finish my comparison, but so far so good. Primarily the question marks were on the south side, and we had met with Bentonville a couple times in working through our master street plan and their revision. And this is so far as I can tell, a reflection of those conversations. So I think we're in shape in terms of coordinating our future development. But yeah, just to reiterate what Lorraine said, the Planning Commission is holding a public hearing tonight to consider it. I had heard rumblings that there was some opposition, but I hadn't heard anything about the southern side of it. It was primarily the northern side. And I don't know, Joey, if you've heard anything about the master street plan process or can
I'm making
speak
a
to
phone
it.
call right now.
Oh, okay. Some updates, in the moment updates. So if anybody has any questions, I'll continue to do the comparison. And they also included typical sections, and their right-of-way requirements are slightly different than ours, but I think we'll be able to accommodate transitions. And actually, Tony, do you have an update?
I know a little bit. I know a little
I'm
bit
sure you
about
do.
this. No, there's always controversy. People think that, we're going to build these projects right away. Some of them don't quite comprehend that it is a plan. We use it as a guideline to acquire right away or when development occurs in certain areas. So there is some confusion from what I've heard from residents in Bentonville. I think that Bentonville has done the best we can as far as easing their concerns and kind of explaining to them that this is a plan. I know Bentonville is going for a bond project later on in the year, and this is just another tool that will be utilized to help Bentonville with their bond project to complete some of these highly congested areas of traffic to try to ease congestion, I should say. So that's where Bentonville's at. I really don't see it not passing.
It passed PC. It's still got to go to council.
Yeah, it's still got to go. You're right, Joey. It does have to go to council. They're the ultimate authority.
Yeah, but it did pass PC tonight.
Okay.
The connectors from Bright Road to the north, and then that little jog off of Greenhouse to connect to Elm Tree. Those are pretty cool if they should happen.
Tony, this is the best map you could get us?
Actually, this map is in relation working with Garber, so it wasn't just my brainchild.
I'll call Larry too. Don't worry.
There was professionals involved in this.
Yeah, and we just pulled it from the meeting packet, so we probably could have gotten a better quality one too. But
Maybe
That's
tell them this-
probably a screenshot of a screenshot of a screenshot.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Anything else under other business, Nicole or Lorraine?
That's all I have. Well, I will tell you that there is just we're going to try to keep on top of the rezones that are adjacent to the Centerton city limits in Bentonville. There was one, and it was the Highlands LLC property along Vaughn Road and south of Motley. So the pink is Centerton. And then, oh, wait a minute. Is this one Vaughn Road?
It's
I
what
mean,
it-
is this,
That's what it said. Yeah.
okay. All
there were
right, so-
actually two in the area. This one is the one that's actually contiguous to our boundaries, I think, the Shasta.
Okay, yeah,
rezone.
that's why I didn't.
Yeah. The junior
Completely.
high is kind of up here a little bit. Holloway, comes in through here. But anyway, we're just trying to keep an eye. This request was single family residential, which I'm not. Did you have concerns specifically with any of these, or just wanted
No.
to note that we'll keep an eye on them?
No, I just want us to know so that we keep up with what is adjacent. When we look at rezoning property, I want to make sure that we look at what Bentonville has in that area if we are close to those areas. So the property is being annexed and rezoned in
Keeping in
several
mind that
places.
their zoning is a little different than ours. Is that right?
Correct.
Their R1
Yeah.
is different than R1 for us.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to go to announcements. Under announcements, again, our next meeting is 119. If you can't be a part of the meeting, please let myself, Lorraine, and then Leanna know, please. The next council meeting is on 1/12. I can't reiterate enough on the disclosures. I had that on my list as well. And if there's not anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
This Jerry, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
John, I'll second.
We have a motion and we have a second to adjourn. Is anyone opposed? All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you later.
Good night.
Good evening.
Bye, guys.